Imagine this. One moment you're scrolling your phone, lights on, everything normal, and the next moment the world around you just stops. The screens go black. The hum of electricity fades. The room suddenly feels heavier, quieter, too quiet. You try flipping the switch, nothing. You check your phone, no signal. You look outside and realize it's not just your home. The entire neighborhood is dark. Maybe the whole city, maybe more. And in that moment you feel that little drop in your stomach, that whisper saying this is real, and you're not as prepared as you thought. That's exactly why we're talking today. Because blackout survival isn't just about flashlights and candles. It's about mindset, strategy, and understanding how quickly everyday life can change when the grid goes down. When the power cuts and it stays out longer than a few minutes, people slowly shift from calm to concerned. It starts with a shrug, then a sigh, then frustration, and then fear. Because whether we realize it or not, almost everything we depend on runs on electricity. Water pumps, grocery stores, gas stations, hospitals, communication towers, traffic systems, money transfers, heating and cooling, even our sense of safety. You pull power out of modern life and suddenly the world becomes unfamiliar. And the biggest problem isn't the dark, it's the panic that follows. That's why being prepared for a blackout is one of the smartest and most realistic forms of survival readiness. Blackouts can be caused by storms, cyber attacks, grid overload, equipment failure, wildfires, extreme temperatures, or even just an aging electrical infrastructure. You don't need a Hollywood disaster to experience a real one. All it takes is the wrong switch going offline at the wrong time. And the crazy part? Most people won't think about any of this until it happens. They'll react instead of prepare. And that's why I want you to be different. I want you to be the calm in the chaos. The person who already knows what to do. The one who doesn't panic when the lights go out. The moment a blackout begins, time becomes your biggest advantage if you use it well. The first thing you do is pause. Take a breath. Don't jump to worst-case assumptions. And don't immediately drain your phone battery by checking everything at once. Your first goal is awareness. Is it just your home? The whole block? The entire horizon? Look outside without announcing to the world that you're confused or unprepared. Keep your composure. The second thing you do is protect your resources. If the power is out, your water supply may soon follow, especially in high-rise buildings or areas with electric pumps. Fill containers, pots, jugs, whatever you have while water is still running. It sounds simple, but this one step alone can turn a crisis into a manageable event. Once you've secured your basic water needs, you move to light. Not just any light, safe light. Candles are romantic until they burn down a curtain or get knocked over in the dark. Flashlights, headlamps, battery-powered lanterns, these are your best friends. And don't just keep them in a drawer somewhere. Keep them accessible. Because stumbling in the dark is how injuries happen, and injuries during a blackout are 10 times more complicated. And while we're talking about injuries, let me say this. A real blackout is not the time you want to be figuring out where your first aid kit is or discovering that it's missing half the things you need. Your job is not to improvise your way through a crisis. Your job is to prevent the crisis from becoming a disaster. As the blackout stretches on, your priorities shift. If you're home, your space becomes your shelter. If you're not home, you need to get to a safe location. Before roads become dangerous or communication drops completely, people often forget that when traffic lights go down, intersections become chaos. Ambulances get delayed. Emergency calls get backed up. The world doesn't fall apart instantly, but it starts cracking around the edges. And the earlier you take action, the smoother your experience will be. Now let's talk about temperature. In a blackout, extreme heat or extreme cold becomes your biggest threat. In winter, without power, indoor temperatures can drop fast. Layers become essential. Blankets become currency. If you have a fireplace or non-electric heating source, you're ahead of most people. But even then, you need ventilation, safety, and fuel management. In summer, the heat becomes its own danger. Without AC or fans, dehydration sneaks up on people. Cooling down becomes an active task. Shade, hydration, ventilation. People underestimate how fast heat exhaustion hits, especially when they're distracted by everything else going wrong. Then we get to food. The rule is simple: eat what spoils first. Your fridge keeps food safe for about 4 hours if you keep it closed. Your freezer? About 24 to 48 hours depending on how full it is. A full freezer stays cold longer. Your job is not to open these doors, just to check every Opening releases cold air and shortens your window. Eat what you need, ration smartly, and avoid overeating out of stress. Stress makes people snack. Snacking wastes resources. You want your food to last as long as possible because you don't know how long the blackout will last. And speaking of lasting, your mindset determines everything. A lot of survival channels focus on gear. I love gear, sure, but gear without mindset is just expensive decoration. Your ability to stay calm, patient, resourceful, and alert is what keeps you safe. You'll be amazed how quickly people fall apart mentally when they lose the power to be entertained or distracted. Boredom leads to anxiety. Anxiety leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to emergencies. You need a routine. You need tasks. You need control. During a blackout, communication becomes lifeline information. Keep your phone on low power mode. Turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Avoid unnecessary scrolling. A charged phone is far more valuable than a moment of distraction. Battery banks, solar chargers, these aren't luxuries. They're essential. And if communication towers go down, you need backup ways to stay informed. A portable radio, crank-powered if possible, keeps you connected to the outside world. Knowledge is survival. Silence is danger. And then there's security. This is the part people don't like to talk about, but it's real. The darker the world gets, the more opportunities open for people who make bad decisions. I'm not saying panic. I'm saying be aware. Lock your doors. Close your windows. Keep your home looking occupied. Avoid advertising that you're unprepared or desperate. Light sources should be subtle or contained. If everyone else's home is dark and yours is glowing like a lantern, you're drawing eyes you don't want. Privacy is safety. Now, if the blackout continues for days, life changes. You start moving from short-term comfort to long-term function. Hygiene becomes a challenge. Cooking becomes slower. Nighttime feels longer. You begin using supplies more carefully, and you notice how much you rely on modern convenience. But you also discover something empowering. You can adapt. Humans are built for resilience. We survived long before electricity, long before fridges, long before digital distractions, and a blackout reminds us of that. It strips away noise, routines, busyness, and shows us what we're capable of when life slows down and demands focus. The key is preparation, not panic buying after the blackout hits. Preparation beforehand. Having a blackout kit with water, food, lights, batteries, chargers, first aid, tools, and comfort items. Having a plan with your family, where to meet, how to communicate, what to do. Practicing small skills, how to purify water, how to stay warm without electronics, how to cook without power, how to stay calm when everything shuts off. Here's the truth. Surviving a blackout isn't about being the toughest person or having the most expensive gear. It's about being ready when others aren't. It's about staying 3 steps ahead instead of reacting in the moment. It's about thinking clearly, moving wisely, and protecting your home, your health, and your loved ones. When the lights go out, fear rises. But with preparation, that fear doesn't control you. You control the situation. Blackouts test patience, discipline, and awareness. They remind us that comfort is borrowed, convenience is fragile, and preparation is freedom. Every time the world goes dark, you get a chance to shine through your decisions, your readiness, and your calmness. And if you take these ideas seriously, the next time the power cuts, you won't feel that jolt of panic. You'll take a breath, look around, and say, I've got this, because you'll be ready. And that readiness could make all the difference. When the power goes out and stays out longer than just a few minutes, one of the biggest shifts you have to make is in how you manage your food, your temperature, and your energy. These 3 things decide whether a blackout becomes an uncomfortable setback or a real survival challenge. And the truth is, most people don't think about any of them until it's already too late. So let's talk about how to stay safe, smart, and in control when the grid suddenly disappears.